in a small village nestled at the foot of the Vindhya mountains, where the clouds kiss the treetops and temple bells echo softly with morning prayers, lived an old woodcutter named Arjun. The villagers called him Baba Arjun, the humble soul who spent his life gathering firewood from the forest. He was thin, sunburnt, with hands hardened like tree bark and silver hair flowing like early mist. He lived with his wife, Mira, once a kind-hearted schoolteacher in the village of Bilapur. The couple had no children. People pitied them for their poverty, but Arjun often said, "We have enough. As long as we have each other and a reason to love." The winter winds blew in from the Vindhya peaks, sharp and biting. Mira started coughing, first mildly, then relentlessly. Within weeks, she was bedridden. Her breath came in weak whispers, her cheeks hollowed, and her eyes dulled into fatigue. Arjun sold everything he had, old tools, his spare clothes, even a pair of brass earrings once gifted to Mira. He bought medicine from the village bazaar, but it barely kept the sickness at bay. Every morning, wrapped in a patchy shawl and carrying an empty basket, he disappeared into the forest, hoping to gather enough firewood to trade for rice, for tea, for one more tablet. At night, he sat silently by the dying embers of their hearth, watching her sleep, afraid she might never wake up. He prayed, not to a god he believed in, but out of desperation. With eyes full of pain, he whispered into the dark, "If anyone's listening, take my life instead. Let her live just one more day." That morning, there was no firewood left, no medicine, and no time. Arjun kissed his wife's forehead gently, turned away quickly so she wouldn't see the tears, and walked westward. Not into the forest, he knew, but into the forbidden woods, Nagvana. The villagers called it the Forest of the Serpent, a place haunted by legend, a place where moonlight never touched the ground. They said a white serpent deity lived there, Nagaraja, the guardian of the wild. Some claimed to have seen it glide like silk under the full moon. Others whispered of screams at night, of people vanishing into its depths. But Arjun no longer feared myths. He had nothing left to lose. A soft groan. Not a growl, not a cry. A moan. Aching, human-like. He pushed through the vines, stepped over roots that coiled like ancient claws. And then, he saw it. Curled beneath a massive sala tree was a white serpent, vast and majestic. Its scales shimmered like silver in moonlight, its body trapped by thick roots that had pierced through its flesh. Blood seeped into the forest floor. The serpent was dying, but it didn't hiss, it didn't strike. It looked at him, with golden eyes full of pain and sorrow. Not fury, not hatred, just a silent plea. Arjun froze. One voice in his head screamed, "Kill it! Take its skin! Sell it! Buy medicine! Mira will live!" Another voice, quieter but stronger, said, "It's suffering, like her. It's helpless, like her." His hands trembled. He knelt, lifted his axe, but not toward the serpent. He swung at the roots, hacking them one by one, as sweat and blood ran down his arms. The serpent didn't move. It simply watched. Every strike of the axe echoed like a drum of defiance, against greed, against fear, against the temptation to betray his own soul. Finally, the last root snapped. The serpent rose, slow and regal. Its eyes met his, deep, ancient, and then it bowed and vanished into the trees. Where the serpent had lain was a single scale, gleaming white, thin as silk, light as air, yet pulsing with quiet power. When Arjun picked it up, a warm current rushed through him, like spring wind after a long winter. Then, a voice spoke in his mind. "You saved me. Not for reward, not for gain. Take this gift, but know this. A gift not born from compassion will be taken back, and the price will be everything." Arjun didn't understand fully, but he believed. That night, he placed the scale beneath Mira's head and whispered, "If this holds any power, Let it be hers. I want nothing else." He sat beside her, watching, praying, waiting. By morning, her cheeks were no longer pale. Her breath stronger, her fingers twitched, then gripped his hand, and she smiled. Arjun didn't sleep that night. He sat by Mira's side, holding her hand, watching the scale glow with a soft, golden shimmer. It wasn't bright or blinding. It was the kind of glow that warmed the soul, like the last flame in a hearth on a freezing night. And then, she stirred. Her fingers twitched, her eyelids fluttered, and finally, her lips parted, whispering his name. Arjun. He couldn't hold back. The man who never wept when he was turned away at the clinic, or when he walked home empty-handed from the bazaar, now cried like a child. Tears of disbelief, tears of joy, because somehow, somewhere, something had listened. At dawn, when Arjun stepped out into the pale sunlight, he froze. Scattered in the dirt outside his hut were gold coins, old, heavy, the kind no one in Bilapur had seen in generations. By the water pot, nestled between the cracked floorboards, were gemstones and bangles, glowing faintly like trapped starlight. Treasure. Real, undeniable, impossible treasure. Not just a miracle, a blessing. He didn't fall to his knees or shout to the sky. He simply closed his eyes, folded his hands, and whispered, "I didn't ask for this, but if it is given, let me use it right." And he did. Not to rebuild his home, not to fill his life with comfort, but to help, quietly, deliberately. He paid for a neighbor's medicine. He rebuilt a widow's roof. He bought notebooks for children who'd never had any. He gave, not as a rich man, but as someone who remembered what it meant to go without. But not everyone rejoiced. At the heart of the village stood a mansion, tall, painted, proud. Inside lived Thakur Rajan, the village chief. For years, he held control over land permits, grain rations, festival funding. People bowed when he passed. His word was law. And now, they were bowing to Arjun? He couldn't stand it. He sent men to spy. And soon, he heard whispers of the scale, a small, glowing scale, a source of healing, of fortune, of power. One rainy night, Thakur Rajan slipped into Arjun's hut while he and Mira slept. On the bedside table lay a small wooden box. Inside, the white scale, still warm, still glowing faintly. Thakur grabbed it with greedy fingers and fled. Into the darkness, into the woods. Not any woods. He went straight to Nagvana. Standing beneath the same ancient sala tree, Thakur Rajan raised the scale to the sky and shouted, "Serpent! I know you're here. I have your scale. Come forth and grant me what I deserve. Wealth, land, power." The forest answered, a whisper at first, then a rustle, then a roar of wind, though no leaves stirred. And then it appeared, Nagaraja, its body coiled like smoke, its eyes no longer golden, but deep crimson, glowing in like dying embers. The voice came not from its mouth, but from deep within Rajan's mind. You took what was not yours. You asked for power, but gave no compassion. What is given from mercy cannot be kept by greed. Before Rajan could scream, the serpent struck, wrapped him in coils thick as tree trunks, lifted him from the ground, and squeezed. His final cry was swallowed by the forest. The next morning, the villagers found his door wide open, candles still burning. But no one home. They searched the woods, called his name, lit fires. All they found was a drag mark, vanishing into a dark crevice in Nagvana. And Arjun? He simply opened the empty wooden box, saw the glow was gone, and whispered, "What is not yours will never stay." The treasure vanished too. No more gold coins, no more jewels, just the hut, the firewood, the woven mats. But Mira's smile remained. Her strength returned. Her songs, once lost to illness, now floated through the hut each afternoon like soft prayers. And Arjun? He didn't grieve the loss. He felt peace. The villagers still came, not to ask for gold, but for advice, for stories. Children gathered each evening as Arjun whittled sticks and told tales of the forest. Not of glory, but of choices. "I didn't save a god," he'd say. "I simply couldn't ignore pain." And when someone asked about the scale, he'd smile. "It wasn't mine. I was only borrowing it, just long enough to learn what truly matters." In a world overflowing with temptation, doing the right thing, even when no one sees, is the rarest kind of courage. And in a forest deep within Vindhya, beneath roots older than memory, a white serpent still glides silently, waiting for the next soul brave enough to choose mercy over greed. Sometimes the greatest miracles begin with a simple choice. Not the choice to win, not to gain, but to do what's right, even when it's hard, even when no one's watching. Arjun didn't fight for treasure. He didn't pray for riches. He just chose kindness when it mattered most. And in return, he was given something far more lasting than gold: peace, love, and a story that still lives on. If this story moved you, if you believe that compassion still matters in this noisy world, leave a comment below, share this video with someone who needs a little hope, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you won't miss the next heartfelt journey here on Love Nature and Animals. Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay kind and stay human.